What do I want? It's a question that everyone eventually has to ask themselves. The key motivator for every action taken. The cause behind every effect. So, what do I want? I want to go to a sporting event in every major venue. I want to grow within my relationships with my friends and my family. I want the freedom to create without the fear of failure. I want to dream without being hindered by reality. I want to chase new passions, new experiences, and new goals. I want OldMilk to branch out of the box and try new things. I'm accomplishing some of these goals right now, and I know what I need to do to achieve the rest of them. However, the one thing you should take away from this commercial is, I want you to buy OldMilk merch. It's been a busy week. The ALCS is over, and we have World Series baseball, the Fall Classic as they call it, coming back. And additionally, today, Taylor, we have issues. We're not friends today because the Patriots play the Bears and the Bulls play the Celtics. So I'm gonna need you to take that hat off and find a new hat.
No. Winter is coming for you, and yeah, it could be ugly. It could get real ugly.
I mean, it could go both ways, to be honest with you, because, well, I feel less certain in the Bulls beating the Celtics today, but I feel like there's a chance that the Bears beat the Patriots. I believe in Justin Fields too much, and also y'all are suspect, very suspect, especially, you know.
I mean, the Patriots beat all the bad teams, and the Bears are a bad team. So
I mean, are we a bad team, or are we just
yeah,
a really good college team that ascended into the NFL? By that definition, we're a good team. We're a really good team by that definition.
Those are some hoops that you're jumping through that they're not real.
I mean, did you see the report about Adam Silver, threatening to send down the two worst teams in the NBA, and then the two best G League teams become NBA teams like each season? I'm not gonna lie, I kind of respect it.
Yeah,
I think that's
it's
kind of
like
cool.
nah, it's cool, but like it's trying to, like, I can't wait until the G League Ignite goes up against like the Clippers
You're not trying
and
to
Paul
see
George and
the
Kawhi.
you're not trying to see
No,
Fort Wayne, the Mad Ants. You're not trying to see the illustrious history that the
no,
Santa
I'm not
Cruz
trying to see,
Warriors have.
no, I'm certainly not. I'm not trying to see the no, I do not want to see the Santa Cruz Warriors versus the Boston Celtics on a random February night at 10 p.m.
I
No.
mean, it could give you some type of closure because at least you guys beat a Warriors team. Doesn't matter which one.
Nah, the closure's coming.
Is it?
After 3 games, I can confidently say the closure is coming.
I mean, we'll have to see. It's a long season ahead of us. One thing I do know for sure is that James Harden is back. So that's always a beautiful sight.
Yeah,
They counted him out.
it's
But
tr
you know
it's
what?
translating to wins too. We love it.
You know what I heard? I heard that Joel Embiid has plantar fasciitis. And if that's the case, that means that he's in the same boat that James Harden was last season, from the standpoint of he comes into the season out of shape. Because like when you have foot injuries or leg injuries, you can't like run the way that you're supposed to during the off season. So if that's the case, then what the fuck? But it's nice to see that James Harden is
I'm
back.
Yeah. Well, I'm really sure that the 7'2", 300-pound guy with feet and leg injuries will get better as the season goes on. I'm sure that's how that'll work.
I mean, this might be his MVP year. We'll never know.
Nah, he's given up.
But
He came in
you
twice.
think
He
you?
came in twice, 2 times in a row, and it's like, nah,
I mean, sometimes you just need a breakthrough. I mean, at one point in time,
nah.
I I mean, LeBron had to break through multiple finals teams, facing multiple finals teams before he actually got to the finals. Like maybe Joel Embiid just has
That
to.
MVP is a little farther north. A little farther
Yeah,
north.
yeah, it's a little bit more sudden, if you will. Sometimes you see the trajectory, and other times you're like, oh, he's MVP. Okay, I guess. But this is a music podcast. And that being said,
It
welcome to the
is.
Cat Podcast. This is episode 325. That is Taylor McLeod wearing an ugly, ugly hat. I am Nate Sperlin. Thank you for watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, and more. Shout out to all our subscribers. And if you feel left out from that shout out, I have a simple fix for you. You can just subscribe and now you're included. So shout out to you. Also, you can hit the like button, not now, but at some point you might want to do that. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Old Milk Media. Check out the Old Milk Spins plays on Spotify and YouTube. And check out all the Old Milk content on oldmilk.co. That being said, Taylor, how are you doing today?
Good. Sun is shining. Talked about it already, but we got two big matchups tonight. So what else do you need really? Favorite sports teams on TV and the sun's out. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, no, there's especially around this time, there's really nothing much more you could ask for. Maybe I don't know, some apple cider donuts, but that's a random thing. Are you apple spice
Damn.
or I mean not apple spice, apple cider or pumpkin spice? Like what's the
Oh,
preference?
come on now. It's apple.
Apple
Apple all
cider.
day long.
You sound
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
not
for
a
sure.
traditional Bostonite. Is that what they call y'all? Bostonites?
I'm not
That's
from
it,
there.
right? All right, so you
I'm
don't
not
have
from
any
there.
in terms of baked
No,
goods, you have
I've
no
worked at
Massachusetts pride.
well, when it comes to baked goods, pumpkin bread with chocolate chips,
Okay.
that's S
Okay.
tier. That is the top of
Okay.
that's the mountaintop. But I mean, I've worked orchard. I've bottled the cider. I've put the labels on. Like
It's a little
apples forever.
homegrown farm to table
Apple
experience.
forever. Shout out Steve Jobs.
Man, oh god.
It's not the
Anyway,
pumpkin iPhone 14.
oh yeah, no, we don't want that. I mean, they sell anyway. That being said, we are talking about the second NBA Youngboy. This is the second NBA Youngboy episode that we had this year. But if he's gonna release all this music and most of it be quality, I guess we're gonna talk about him twice. We're talking about NBA Youngboy, or I probably should say Youngboy Never Broke Again. Ma, I Got a Family, a Gangsta Grillz special edition hosted by DJ Drama, aka Drum Brady. I'm not gonna call him. What do you say? Call me Jeffrey Drummer on Pop Out. I'm not
He he sure
drama,
did.
drama. No, I'm not calling you that. But that being said, the tape is 19 tracks long, 47 minutes long as well, featuring Nicki Minaj and Yeet. It also comes as one of the three Gangsta Girl projects that were released over the weekend. The other two are I Still Got It with Snoop Dogg, obviously with DJ Drama, and then Snowfall with Jeezy. Shout out Snowfall season 6, by the way. Completely different segue, but that is going to be heat. Anyway, before we actually get into the review, some notable production credits. At least I found them notable. Southside from 808 Mafia, the 808 Boss produced Pop Out, and Chief Keef has a production credit on All the Problems. Additionally, this is NBA YoungBoy's sixth release of 2022 and the seventh release over the full calendar year. And that being said, I give it to you, Taylor. What were your first initial thoughts on NBA YoungBoy? Ma, I Got a Family.
It like I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it. I'm not an NBA young boy fan. Like we talked about it in the last episode. I think he is incredibly talented at making very listenable music. Like like his music sounds nice and like he clearly understands which instrumentals work for what sentiment he's trying to put across. It's not like this like ESTG, who's just someone else bubbling up right now. Like even his sad songs are scary. Like NBA YoungBoy like knows definitely when to he really excels at picking his instrumentals, and I think that over the course of this project, the instrumentals to me at least are what really carry the entire thing. I think the DJ drama parts are nice. John Brady reference, I like that. The other one, not so much. I
Of course
think
you
it's
do.
yeah. Well, so it brings me back to a time when like because we didn't you and I weren't I mean, obviously like you know about it, but it's different because we weren't like old enough for the beginning of DJ drama. But we got like the second iteration of DJ drama, which was like the one that stands out most to me is Dream Chasers 2 with Meek. And so like
Mhm.
it's nice to get this like third cycle of DJ drama after doing the Tyler album last year when like the Pete kids were like, who's DJ drama? Like it's nice to hear him like back working with like the artists that understand like in obviously Tyler understands it, but it's nice to hear him back with an audience that knows who DJ Drama is, especially with the three projects that came out. So those are my first reactions. I think it's a nice project to listen to, like just based on my fandom. I don't know if I'll come back to it a whole lot. And I have some more nuanced thoughts about certain
Mhm.
sounds and other parts. But my first reaction, just like the first couple times through, it's a nice album to listen to. Like you can't there's no denying that he makes, good music. So
Yeah. My first thoughts were I kind of addressed it already, but I just have to say it again. DJ Drama asking people to call him Jeffrey Drama is crazy. Aside from that,
yeah.
um, the album itself is really good. I think that there is a comparison to be made with NBA Youngboy and LeBron from the standpoint of LeBron has a lot of finals appearances, but he doesn't have the he has more finals appearances than rings, and I feel that is a good analogy to NBA YoungBoy's music. That being said, this project within itself is a ring. The other two, between Last Slimito and this one, Realer 2, and I believe it's called 38, yeah, 3800 Degrees. Those two were kind of iffy for me. There were some songs that I liked from both of them, but I didn't really see myself playing both of those projects through the same way that I will this one and the Last Slimito. Um, and I think that's also because you can tell there's a difference in quality between an NBA YoungBoy mixtape versus an NBA YoungBoy album. And I know that I'm not sure what this is being called yet, but to me at least, it sounds on the same level as Colors and The Last Slimito, the two for sure NBA YoungBoy albums that we had this year. So overall, I think that it's a really good project to listen to. I think that they are, I can listen to the whole thing and be completely enjoy myself and have a blast listening to the whole thing front to back. That's something that I can only say for Colors and The Last Slamito out of the projects that NBA Youngboy has dropped this year. So all that being said, I think that within the past calendar month, there are four Young Boy projects that I can routinely come back to or go back to appreciate the music. And that's From the Bayou, which is a collab with Birdman that came out last year, I believe in December of 2021. Colors that came out in January, the last Lamito that came out in August, and now this one here. Um, Additionally, I think there might be a level of young boy fatigue or possibly just different target audiences or just a lack of growth in general because he just releases so much music. I think that it might just be either the young boy fatigue because I remember when the last Limito came out and then he announced Realer 2, I was like, okay, well, I'm still trying to digest this last project. I don't think I'm ready for a new one yet. And then after almost like 2, 3 weeks after he came out with Realer 2, he comes out with 3800 Degrees. And then this one comes out 2 weeks after 3800 Degrees. So it's really four projects in the span of a month. Um, but at the same time, at least from the perspective of 3800 Degrees, it seems like that project was more for the Louisiana region, because it pays homage to Lil Wayne's first tapes. And I think it kind of sounds at least like the 2022 version of what that would sound like. So perhaps there could be workings of a different target audience as well. I don't really think it's lack of growth because from 2015 when Youngboy first started becoming known to now, you can see the growth in his development artistically. So overall, really, really good project. There are way more tracks to listen to, and I don't think there's a single skip on this project. At least I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it listens like a project. You should listen to the whole thing, and I think you can actually listen to it through, and I think you could also shuffle it. Like I think there's a case to be made for like maybe like putting the Nicki feature higher, or the Yeet feature higher, instead of putting those, both at the back end. But I also get the incentive of like, let me at least the first time people listen to this, let's put these at the back so that people listen through the album and then get there. I think what you said about fatigue is probably the most important point. And my perception of the Youngboy audience, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it skews a little bit younger than even you and I, and like we're
Yeah.
you and I both you and I are in there like early to mid 20s. So it's like I think it skews a little younger than us. And I think that his release volume is closer to that. It matches up more with that younger mindset of I'm on to the next thing immediately. Like you said, there is no it feels like there's no like desire to digest a piece of music. It's like, no, this is hot right now. Let me find the next thing. And I feel like that's always been a thing. And you've had other artists that do this. Like, I mean, Russ blew up releasing a ton of music, every week. Currency at
Migos,
one point was doing like a mixtape a month. Migos, um, La Russell
Future.
puts out an incredible amount of music, and Future, and they all resonate with different groups. So I think what you said about reaching for certain audiences is also very important, because if you're gonna be this high volume release, like if you're gonna do this volume of releases, it has to be different. And I think that is one thing that he has on his side, is that there is an effort to diversify at least the main target audience, but also giving that bigger general audience what they want every month or every couple months, by like just throwing them an entire other project. So you like make your money on that side. And then with the audience that you're actually like, shooting for, then it's like then there's a deeper level of appreciation. But I do think there is something to be said that for that audience that wants that more specific project, that more appreciative audience, I think sometimes the volume can cause that fatigue in that audience, like the audience who actually cares almost. I feel like there's a easier path towards fatigue for them with this type of release cycle. Because I mean, my most recent in terms of a rapper that I really listened to and like that, like last year, Currency did like 6 mixtapes in 6 months or something like that. Or it was like
Hmm.
it could have been like more like it was from like August to December. He had like an 8 mixtape run, and it's like I can't. It makes me almost like be like, I wish there had to be like physical CDs for all these projects so that it could slow it down just a little bit, because you have to pay for the manufacturing, you have to manufacture, you have to set dates ahead, and it can't just be like, no, actually, I came up with another idea, or I spent a weekend with this producer. Like, it's an amazing product for the fans, but at some point, like it's like no matter how good the product is, I feel like you run out of capacity to like fully digest like that amount of music. So that leads kind of nicely into like my next thing, and it's like a lot of points on this album specifically make me wish for like projects from other artists, or like EPs from other artists, or even singles from other artists. Like there's points in this album where like we just got a whole album of this from Rod Wave, but there's parts where I'm like, oh, I would almost not rather, because that's not how I want to frame this, but like, I can hear Rod Wave doing something like this, or I can hear Thug doing something like this. There's points on the album where I'm like, oh, like this makes me want to listen to Lil Wayne getting on this instrumental or something similar to it. I think there's a lot of it, especially with the like more like guitar driven instrumentals, where like it makes me miss Juice World a lot. Where I you know what I mean? I want that separate perspective. It's nice to have one project that has all of this on it, and I think it casts really wide net, but it definitely makes me like wish like we were getting some music from like other artists to almost like cut through and be like, no, this is their lane. Like it's very cool that like Youngboy can do all that. It's similar in versatility way. It's similar to like a Drake, but at the same point, I'm like, man, like I wish like Juice World was on this in 2022, as opposed to getting like music that's in the vault. Like I wish we were getting a new, and like obviously that's not gonna happen, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. The first point about your about fatigue, essentially. The one thing I will add to that is I think that good music like this album cuts through that fatigue because after
Yeah.
listening to Realer 2 and listening to 3800 Degrees, I wasn't excited for this project at all. And even at the last second when it was told that it was going to be a DJ Drama Gangsta Grillz mixtape, I still wasn't really as excited as I should be for NBA Youngboy and DJ Drama. But listening to the album, I feel, I don't know if rejuvenate is the right word, but I feel ready. Like I feel ready to digest this album as well as continuing to digest the last Limito. Additionally, I like the fact that you brought up Rod Wave because Youngboy, Rod Wave, make a tape together. It'd be amazing. I just wanted to say that. And finally, the Juice World point really, it's really interesting that you bring that up as well because I think King of the Jungle reminds me of Armed and Dangerous by Juice World. And it would have been nice to have, obviously, as you said, or as we all know, and unfortunately, it's reality that we're not going to get. Juice World isn't here to make more music, or it just isn't here in general. But it would have been nice to hear what Juice World would have done on King of the Jungle and some other tracks. So yeah. But I do also want to get to a point about why NBA YoungBoy releases so much music. Um, I so after the release of the last Slimito, I saw an Instagram post that went out. I think it was either posted by NBA YoungBoy's team that basically said celebrated the fact that they beat the music industry in terms of they got out their contract with Atlantic Records. And so my initial thought from that was that Youngboy is releasing Realer 2, 3800 Degrees, My Got a Family Now to replenish the catalog of music that will all be his. But when you look on Spotify, um, under it, it still says that Atlantic Records has some rights to the music, all the music that he's released over the past 2 months since the last Limito. So I was kind of confused there. I was kind of wondering if Youngboy was independent or if he wasn't independent. But after further research and also, I guess, luck in terms of planning when we record this, today it was reported by Billboard that Youngboy is signing with Motown Records and his Never Broke Again label was already signed by Motown Records in 2021. So I guess that just completes the whole thing. So still not completely sure if these last three releases are independent or just him finalizing some uh something that he needed to meet within that Atlantic contract, which knowing how music contracts go, that very well may be the case. But I just thought it was interesting to kind of peel back the curtain and try to see why is NBA YoungBoy releasing this music? Because again, even though we could come up with names like Future and I forgot the other names that we just said, it's still really rare to see an artist release this much and at least have maintained as big of a audience as YoungBoy does or as Future did. So it was just interesting to kind of peel that back for me or for everybody
Yeah,
really.
and it definitely could be a situation like that. We've seen it so much more recently, or at least it's been more publicized, where like Drake put out If You're Reading This to get out of his initial contract, or Frank Ocean putting out Endless with Blonde to, qualify as like 2 albums to get him out of his contract. So we've seen that a bunch. And there's obviously the chance that all this was like, all right, let me put out all these projects. I also think without having to do the legwork of like literally selling CDs or mixtapes out of like a car, going and making the rounds, like actually, being on like selling, you know what I mean? Like moving the music like physically. You don't have to do that anymore. So I feel like it's so much easier to now because of the distribution platforms and like the also like I said mentioned earlier, the attention span. I think it's easier now to grind with music than it ever has been because you can just put out so much and like there's guaranteed rates and stuff like that where it's like, oh no, if it like if I put this out, I know what this many people are gonna listen to it. So like no matter what that number on chart data says, where it's like, oh, like who sold the most this week, like Taylor Swift or NBA Youngboy, it's like well, that doesn't matter when you're the one actually getting the money from that, because like whether or not you win that battle is obviously like it's an award thing, it's an accomplishment thing, but it's still like the money's being made. So it's a I feel like it's a double-edged sword where it's like it's a good way to get out of a contract, and especially for someone like Youngboy, or a lot of these artists at this point are like so prolific with the amount of music they make and how quickly they make it, and how good it is for how quickly it's being made. I think it's such an advantage to be able to do things like that. And when you talk about attention span, I think, and you can tell me if you relate, but like for me, who's not the biggest Youngboy fan, the fatigue part kicks back in, and instead of like being like, all right, I'm on to the next thing, it makes me want to go back and like listen to music I've been listening to for the last decade, the last 15 years. It's more like, let me just like stick to what I'm used to, stick to what I know. And I think that's where kind of there's a split. But quick transition, I think that Nicki's feature on this was a pretty nice throwback to a time when her raps were like important.
Damn. Yeah, no, I think that this is probably her best verse of the year on I admit. I also appreciate how talented she is at closing out either her appearance on a song or the song itself. So at the end of her album, at the end of her verse, she kind of starts singing towards the end to close that out, which was amazing within itself. And then you have Youngboy come in with the hook. And then at the end, Nicki Minaj kind of provides those supplementary vocals in kind of adding an extra layer to that song. That's probably one of my favorite songs on the whole album. But while we're talking about features, I the first time I listened to the Yeet feature, I didn't like it as much. The second time, I'm starting to understand it a little better. I still don't
Yeah.
fully understand the hype behind
Oh,
Yeet.
no one makes me feel older than you. Like I'm really trying. I'm like I like don't want to. I don't want to be like a grandfather at 24 and be like I don't
You
get
don't
it.
want to you
Like
don't want to be
like
like those old heads when Young Thug first came out. Like we can't even understand what he's saying. Like what is he doing? Like
yeah. And like I'm trying hard. Like I've been listening to the music and I'm like, yo, like, cause it feels a little bit like Playboy Cardi for me when I like at first I heard it and I was like, okay, like this is obviously like it's his own thing, and then it clicks and I'm just like waiting for that moment with Deep, but I'm like starting to get nervous that I'm like too old. It'll
yeah.
never come. I'm just gonna be like, oh, let me put on reasonable doubt and go like walk around in the cold because that's all I know how to do.
Nah, I mean Yeat's beat selection is really amazing. I do like the beats that he chooses. It's just that I think something along with the cadence or the flow or something like that. Like I genuinely do not understand what he's saying. And there are some artists that you can argue there are times where you don't understand what they're saying. Like Young Thug will be an example of that. But at the same time, there are moments where you do. And I just have not encountered a moment where I'm like, where I can be like, oh yeah, you said da 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 da, and you can say it word for word off the first listen. That's not. But again, to avoid sounding like an old head in 2013 when Lifestyle came out, good appearance. I do like the song itself. I
Um,
think that it would have been better if I don't know. And he did catch a little bit of a flow. Like I'm going like this is genuine. This is genuine credits that I'm giving here. Like he did catch the pocket of the beat, and he did. It's just I just want to know what the lyrics are. Is it? That's the only issue that I have right now. Anything else?
I don't even know if I don't even know if Yeet knows the lyrics.
I don't. What are your favorite tracks on my I Got a Family?
Uh, I like the Nicki song. I admit,
Mm-hmm.
I think the Yee song sounds good, so I don't text back. Like you know what I mean? I just don't. It doesn't have like I feel like I'm like buying like the when you used to have to buy an Xbox, but then you had to buy the live separately. I feel like that's what it is. I'm like, this is a this is an interesting product, and I think I know how to use it, but it's like no, you gotta go get the card and set it up.
You need the
Um,
key.
so I think those two, yeah, exactly. And then I like Rain a lot, the second track.
I like pop out right now, sport mode, I admit, with Nicki Minaj, Change on Me, and Kick It. There's so many other songs that I like though as well. But thanks for watching. This has been the Cat Podcast, episode 325. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about Ma I Got a Family. Did Youngboy inspire you to get a family? I guess we'll see in 9 months if he did. But that being said, do us a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Old Milk Media. Check out the Old Milk Spins plays on Spotify and YouTube, and check out all the Old Milk content at oldmilk.co. Episode 10 of the It's All Opinion podcast is coming soon. And that being said, we are out. Thank you for watching.